Greetings, everyone, and welcome to this episode of The Buzz. On behalf of everyone here at OTTX, I am delighted to welcome you to this episode of OTTX Vidcast, where we offer up our online stage to a few of streaming industry's top insiders to drop their version of the truth on us about what's going on, what it means, and what we should do about it in navigating the tumultuous waters of OTT streaming. Before we turn it over to this episode's crew of Buzzketeers, I want to make sure to mention that you can find and subscribe to all episodes of The Buzz via podcast on Spotify. Just search for OTTX and be sure to follow us on Spotify as well, so you'll be notified about future episodes. We'll drop the Spotify link into the podcast chat, so you'll be able to get into that easily. So, presiding over today's group of OTT Ruckus Raisers, we're excited to welcome our moderator, a longtime friend and partner of OTTX, David Bloom, senior contributor at Forbes, along with our esteemed group of panelists, Tom Gennari, Chief Executive Officer at BB Media, Matt Hill, Head of Fire TV Revenue Engagement and Automated Marketing at Amazon, Yolanda Macias, Chief Content Officer at Cineverse, Matt Montmayor, SVP of Sales and Partner for Canela Media, and Elizabeth Parks, President and Chief Marketing Officer at Parks Associates. Welcome, everybody.
Hey, everybody. I think we misplaced Elizabeth somewhere, which is a shame because she certainly has a useful perspective as somebody who's both a consultant covering the industry and running a conference about the business on a regular basis. But perhaps she'll be able to catch up with us. In the meantime, we've got four fantastic panelists. Real quickly.
It looks like Elizabeth is here. I can see Elizabeth.
I don't see her. There you are.
Nice try. I know she's trouble for you, David. You're like, no, that Elizabeth.
I think my list only shows so many people. That's the problem. You know, they don't make lists like they used to. That's the real problem. Terrific. Elizabeth's here too. So we got like 5 fantastic people here. So this is like going to your own funeral, Elizabeth. I just said how great you are. So
well, nice to see you, David.
And not be dead. Probably both.
100%.
Total double win. Real quickly, folks, each of you briefly just say kind of the thing you do within the industry. Elizabeth, since I kind of gave you a preview, go.
Sure. I'm Elizabeth Parks. I'm the President and Chief Marketing Officer of Parks Associates. We are a market research and consulting company studying all things connected in the home, products and services, and celebrating our 39th year in business in 2025.
Clearly, this was started by your grandparents. So this company, because no way you've been at it for 39 years. But anyway.
My mom will appreciate that comment.
Yes, I just figure I've got to suck up to the mom. So that being said, Yolanda, Cineverse, your boss is my former boss at MGM, Chris McGurk, and you are the content queen.
I'm the Chief Content Officer, Yolanda Macias. I also oversee marketing, and what you'll hear from my opinions are rooted on from the lens of the end user consumer audience. So that's where my comments will be coming from.
So you're going to be trying to figure out what will people actually like when they watch it, basically. That's what.
Yeah, what are those needs, and if you build according to that, the money will come.
Okay. Well, everybody's hoping that's true. Really hoping that's true. Matt Hill, Matt Uno, as I will call you from now on, because we have 2 of you. Go.
Matt Uno. Oh, so that means I'm not Matt Dose, so I guess I'll take that. So Matt Hill, I've been at Amazon now, celebrating my 15th year in 2025, Elizabeth, so not quite as big of a milestone, but I currently work on Fire TV, where I've been for the last 5 years, and my team is responsible for the revenue strategy, the monetization team, and the on-device engagement team, how we think about our customers and creating personalization. I come to Fire TV by way of Prime Video, and then way back in the day, Warner Home Video, so familiar with a lot of faces and some of the discussions that we're having today.
And Matt Dose, it does not mean you are second in our hearts.
Matt Dose, I'll take it. I made the list, you know.
You made the list. On the list is better than not on the list. So.
I made it. I made it. At least you knew I was here, so I'll take that, right?
Exactly.
Matt Montemayor, SVP and partner at Canella Media. I've been here since we started 5.5 years ago. It was a milestone year for us. Speaking of which, we were named to Inc. 5000's top growing companies. So we were in the top 100, number 6 for New York. So those are some good rankings. So I'll throw those in. But my perspective comes from a little different side from Yolanda's is, for me, I see the money follows the eyeballs. So, I've been in traditional broadcast, TV, radio, streaming audio, and now, finally streaming. So we're in a beginning of a huge wave. So excited to talk more about it today.
And Tom, I believe you are last but not least. You're still on the list. Still on the list.
Thank you, David. Thank you also to OTTX for having me. I'm Tom Gennari. I'm the CEO at BB Media. We do data science and market research for media and entertainment. And we try to bring as much light as we can into global trends. And happy to see so many familiar faces, which many times we see OTTX focused in the US because of all its members. And we try to also expand frontiers and cover global trends with our data. So happy to be here today.
Yeah, it's easy to focus on the American market because that was really the tip of the spear in streaming. But it seems to me that probably the battles going forward with the American market heavily saturated. Nearly everybody's going to subscribe to a service, has subscribed, and probably unsubscribed and resubscribed at this rate. So there's another 195 or so countries you can go into to catch up with Netflix, as you're all going to do soon enough in your various organizations. Let's start, speaking of globe-girdling events, with the just concluded Olympics. I think the general take seems to be that Comcast and NBC Universal did a great job. But to me, it's really the place where streaming showed its value, because all of a sudden, instead of having to watch only the 3 hours in prime time or trying to find some obscure cable channel that might have, maybe you're an equestrian person or a fencing person or you like the preliminary rounds of track and field or whatever it is, whatever floats your boat, you can find it. You don't have to go try and figure out where, some cable channel you never watched might be that might have something at a specific time in late afternoon. And I'd just be curious what you guys saw that you liked, maybe things you didn't like. Elizabeth, I think you had a couple of thoughts. You want to kick us off?
Yeah, thanks, David, and thanks for the invitation again to join. The Olympics was such an exciting time just to be watching TV. I actually don't watch TV very often myself, but I was very tuned in to the different sports. I actually watched
Elizabeth, just to clarify, though, because we all work in video, when we say TV, you mean broadcast television carried on a cable net provider or something like that.
Well, I was referring to the TV set, but I can be pointed in that I was watching through my cable provider that I still pay for, along with a lot of broadband internet. And I do have 3 kids in the house, and so streaming happens quite a bit. But I watched through the cable TV, and I did switch around probably 5 or 6 channels and got to see all sorts of sports content that I enjoyed. Overall, I think what was really notable was the use of influencers in trying to gain new audience reach and those eyeballs, but also perhaps the athletes that really ended up shining through some of the social content that they shared around their journey of becoming an Olympic athlete. And then, of course, throughout the games, how things went. So I really, really enjoyed it. I think that NBC overall did a great job. And there was a number of controversies also, I think, that helped create some drama and getting people to pay attention to certain things. And so, people do like to see who's winning and also how that's unfolding.
Well, where would journalists be without drama and controversy? We would be very bored and no one would read us, which is almost kind of like it is now. But that being said, at least we'd have things to write before nobody read them. It is interesting, though, because what you're talking about in part, and this to me is very interesting going forward, is this integration of the actual performers and their social media feeds and their social media impacts and their life stories way beyond I look at, I don't know, Simone Biles, 5-minute profile that runs on the first day of the Olympics or whatever. This is the athlete, perhaps a lesser known athlete, talking about their journey to get where they are, helping elevate their story, but also to provide some humanity and connection, right? Now, how do you guys in your businesses take that and go somewhere with it? I mean, sports is unique, certainly in linear TV these days. It's what we call what's left. But as we were saying before we started, I mean, there's Abbott Elementary, some Dick Wolf procedural shows, and live sports. That's kind of all that's left on broadcast these days, and some reality competitions. Which, by the way, we were told endlessly by NBC will feature Snoop Dogg, the endlessly available, omnipresent performer at the Olympics as a new judge. I just think there's an opportunity to integrate stuff, but how do you guys take this and do something with it? I'm really interested in what you guys think. Matt Dos.
Matt Dos. So I think
soccer's big in some of your guys, right?
Exactly. I mean, I should preface we're a Hispanic-focused streaming service. Right. So, I think what they did well and what was really smart is bringing the content where the audience is and giving choice. When I was in streaming audio, we referred to it as personalization. And I used to say, if you were Cuban in Omaha, you could still listen to salsa, but there's not going to be a Cuban radio station, right? So they basically made that sport by sport opportunity so people can see what they want and tune in how they want, which gives more viewing opportunity. That's going to bring more people in and for longer periods. So that's something that we do, making sure we're bringing content that's representative of all of our audience, not just a monolith of Hispanics, but there's a lot of, different interests. We have like Turkish novellas that are popular in Latin America. They're phenomenal performers. They have huge long watch sessions. It's one of our longest watch content. So I think the thing they did really well was giving that opportunity for personalization and to really watch what you want to see and also discover. There's a discovery opportunity that, there were some sports you probably wouldn't have tuned into,
Yeah, absolutely. And I know it's always complicated. I spent some time with people of Latin descent, Latinas, a couple of times in my complicated love life, and got to learn the differences between, for instance, people of Cuban descent versus people of Mexican descent or Argentinian descent, and there the three shall meet. So yes, they theoretically speak the same language, but not so much in terms of culture. Stars are interested in all that stuff. So this is again where you need to start figuring out how you can drill down and be a little more granular, even within something that's got a broad appeal, right? That's one of the challenges and opportunities here. And streaming allows you to finally do some of that, right?
Right. We can curate content that, gives everyone an opportunity and they see themselves in the content that drives viewing. People want to see themselves represented,
Right. Absolutely. Now, Tom, you're waving your finger. I know you're number one. So,
yeah. So
what's your thoughts on this because of your global viewpoint?
Yeah. So we did a few analysis on the UX and UI on Peacock during the Olympics, and also comparing, during this the US summer. I'm actually right now in Argentina. And we also did some UX and UI analysis on streaming services that had the Olympics on in Latin America, and also just a bit in EMEA. And nothing came even close to what Peacock did when it came to content discovery. So many times we do look at how things.
You guys look at is it Eurosport, which is WBD in Europe, right? Then they have the Olympics there,
and also some channels that have their own like UX and UI for content discovery around the Olympics. And nothing came even close to what Peacock did. And many times our clients ask us to set like benchmarks on like, hey, how can we improve when it's super complicated for content discovery. And this is setting the bar like super high with a very good user experience. Now in Latin America, it was Claro Sports, that it's owned by America Mobile, the ones that had most of the rights. And they did this agreement with YouTube where they had like 4 live channels in there, and you could see most of the sports, not live main, but like 4 live channels that went around as many disciplines as they could. And you would expect that coming from YouTube, the UX would have been good, but no, again, it was like actually kind of lame and super difficult to find the sports you wanted to watch. So we do see that there's a lot of growth space when it comes to content.
Good news, you can get a lot better.
Yeah, and for sports in particular, we can do so much more. And one other thing, one of the things we do is we provide content metadata for content discovery clients that we have around the world. We usually give them like movies and TV shows and where they're available. And one super common request was, do you have content discovery metadata for the Olympics? And that was absolutely impossible to get our hands on. And we were left like not being able to deliver. So that is also where metadata coming from a very big sports event, we need to integrate this organizations, associations, global, sports events into content discovery, because it's pretty common for content distributors and producers to be part of the value chain. But when it comes to the Olympics, that was like super tough. And I do see that there's also room for improvement in the, our own value chain within the industry.
Right. So to me, the interface, and it often gets sort of overlooked, is the UX and the interface. And so you guys checked that out and found it far superior. It feels to me like this is the sort of thing, because I'm a big believer that the transforming college sports universe could really take something like what they did here and use it for all their lesser sports, do direct to consumer streaming services for. It wouldn't be. I think University of Texas has restarted or rebooted in some fashion the Longhorn Network, but every one of the 113 schools with major programs that are affected by NIL and all that stuff that's transforming it, they need to be spotlighting their Olympic sports and their women's sports and providing a way to connect with people in various ways. You see what Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese and Olivia Dunn have done. The opportunities here to spotlight sports, spotlight personalities, interface with the social media adept on your teams. It feels to me like a real opportunity, and I'm just curious what anybody might think about that. Amazon has got their toes, more than their toes at this point, with that NBA deal. I think they're at least up to their knees, right? Matt Uno?
Yeah, It's interesting though, because I think, the Olympics, I agree that NBC Comcast did a really good job, and their app had a lot of great features that was super engaging for customers. But I think what customers are looking for is, I want to watch gymnastics, although it may, hit your fatigue, David, but I want to watch breakdancing.
Well, it's just after the 10th day, I was exhausted. I was doing twists in my bed, know.
Yeah.
And you don't want to see me doing that. I'm just saying, no one wants to see that.
So, oh yeah, well, we'll find a way to upload that. But
a double pike, not my look. So
yeah, I guess the point is that customers want to find the content, and they want to see the ability to watch it when they want to watch it. And so they do want to know that gymnastics is on, that kayaking is on, that various things are on. And NBC and Peacock have done a really good job of that brand association of Olympics with their services. And I think that's great. But per your point, as you start getting into some of the secondary or some of the regional stuff, how am I watch the Premier League? How am I tuning into F1? You want to be able to find that without having to recall which app is on in your locale. And that's why I think, as most of you are probably familiar, we're a huge believer in the content forward UI. And creating a way for customers to discover, I want to watch this and see the content that it is and get right into it without having to rely on recalling, the customers having to recall which service is on. And so I do think that that's a huge opportunity. And it comes back to Matt's point about personalization and making sure that customers who are interested in whatever sport, they can watch it and discover it right away through the UI. And I think that UX experience is super important. The other thing that I would note is that one thing we're also beginning to see is that, and you might hit on this a little bit later, is there's watching the event itself in the time that I want to watch it, but then there's also the ability to watch the condensed form and see things like what happened last night or what happened today. And I have the option to go watch it, but I want to get the quick recap. And so we're seeing a lot of fast opportunity, the free ad supported short form content really coming to the forefront for customers and jumping into that. Fire
So
TV.
the highlight material becomes a second bite then, but it doesn't have to be on the subscription service, is what I'm hearing you say. It can be on the fast somewhere, and that can be, I mean, it's a day old, so it's dead in terms of live sports, but it's got value. One of the things that NBC Universal said in terms of lessons learned was they realized that showing the live thing because of this 7 or 8 hour, whatever it was from Paris, I think it's 7 hours from here on the West Coast, 7-hour time difference. They'd show it live in the morning or whatever, did not impact or undercut the primetime program. People would watch the same thing, and they would still pick up on the highlights and stuff like that. All that stuff didn't cannibalize, which I find interesting. So you're saying take the highlights, create your fast channel, even if it's just an evanescent one that lasts for 3 weeks or whatever, or for the length of the football season or whatever. You've got opportunities there to get a second or third drink out of that well.
And it happens faster than you think. Like Major League Baseball, you can watch game recaps that are 8 minutes long in less than 30 minutes after the game ends. And so you go to Fire TV.
That's because the game is so long, they've got time to put them together.
Right. Yeah. But you go to the UI, you find a service that has it. In our case, we've got Fire TV channels right there, completely free for customers, and it's highly engaging. And per your point, we find that it's additive, where customers are engaging with short form content and still going into the long form content or the live content. In the case of Olympics, we saw app installs, subscription starts, daily app usage, and hours per customer all up versus Beijing and Tokyo for the Olympics overall. And they're engaging with it in different variety of formats, live, on demand, and in recap short form. And so those are all creating good opportunities for our customers, but then it creates a huge reach opportunity in a variety of different ways for advertisers.
When you talk about all those uptake metrics, which are pretty impressive, I'd love to know if there's any number. I know that Amazon's a little shy about these things, but if there's any number you can put on that, or proportion you can put on that. And B, is it just for, I don't know, the Peacock app you're talking about, or the Zumo app? I don't know, but or is it just like it floats all boats?
Yeah, there were a couple of different ways. Obviously, the Peacock app and the products that they use were front and center. We had more ways to watch. There are TV Everywhere apps and other subscription apps that had channels dedicated to the Olympics, and we saw all of those. And even going back to Tom's point, when you look at some of the global partners, like different broadcasts that we saw in the UK, for example, different ways that customers can tune in all saw improvement in those installs and daily usage and things like that. So while I can't share a specific number, and I know that's what you're looking for.
No, you could, you just won't. There's a difference.
That's true. But I can say that we are monitoring, as you look at these kind of zeitgeist events that happen every so often, and you can compare it to those big events, the Super Bowl, but when you look Olympics over Olympics, we're definitely seeing improved numbers overall on a global basis, beyond not only what the great job that Peacock and NBC did, but with other apps as well.
How many countries is Amazon Fire in these days?
We've got our products distributed in over 15, and then we have third-party television partnerships that give our reach to a much larger number. Any
way to quantify? Can you do that number?
I do have that number somewhere, but you're asking me to remember a bunch of data right now.
Okay, fine. Who cares about data? It's not like any of you guys make a living off this stuff. Yolanda, you guys have a panoply, a virtual cinematic universe, which may be the source of your company's name these days, of channels. Did any of the interface stuff or did you get any lessons out of that you guys can apply in terms of making your content stickier and more valuable to your people? And I say this in particular for OTT.X's members who are like you guys. Cineverse has given yeoman service to the organization, but you guys are a good stalking horse for the entire industry of sort of niche programmers. What did you see?
Yeah, I mean, you use the word niche, we say enthusiasts or fandom channel.
Enthusiastic niches. How's that? You like that?
Yeah, I mean, they can be big, but it's exactly what Peacock did with NBC, right? They were complementary to one another. They each knew their role to provide an holistic, enhanced experience to the audience. And that's what we do with our channels. We're complementary. We're not competing with general entertainment. We expect the audience, again, we're listening to the audience. We expect them to want a general entertainment service or services, but then they want deep dive, pun intended, into certain complementary services. Like I'm an indie, cinephile. I want Fandor, or I love horror, but only the popular movies and series are on my general entertainment service. So I want to subscribe to Screenbox, and Bloody Disgusting becomes an editorial. So in a way, the Olympics did a great job of introducing sort of mini bundles, right, to enhance and bring a holistic experience. And that's what, we have been using that idea, not maybe in a formal way, but certainly by all our social and marketing efforts to bring that concept to the viewer so that it can get it more enhanced, deeper, larger libraries, in addition to what they're seeing in general entertainment services.
So the mini bundle concept, which apparently you guys are fleshing out as we speak in this very minute, the mini bundle notion is, in this case, it's Peacock, it's the cable channels of NBC Universal, and it's NBC. That's what you're talking about, what they did.
Yeah.
And you guys might do something. Is it, when you think of a mini bundle, is it a, because like I always see these consumer affinities, like if you like camping gear, you may also like some weird thing like that has nothing to do with camping, like gourmet cooking or horse riding. Those three things go together. The people that like this tend to like this and like this. And I mean, you think about some of that with some of your array of channels to do a sort of affinity-based mini bundling concept.
Well, we're going to rely on data. We're going to rely on technology. We're going to rely on the AI to help us understand those overlaps, where if it was a Venn diagram, you would see all of that overlap.
Like a multidimensional Venn diagram that makes my little head break, right?
Right. But the idea is that this was an example of an ideal mini bundle for the Olympics, right? But you can replicate that and apply it elsewhere, because what I hope doesn't happen is that it becomes another cable bundle, right? You're trying to satisfy everyone in the home. The technology will allow for us to really understand, it already does, the profiles of every end user and that personalization, so you can create mini bundles for everyone in the household.
Right. Yeah. I mean, certainly the bundle is going to be put to a withering in the courtroom with the venue. Venu. I like to call it Venu. I know that's not what they call it because it just reminds me of certain deities of recently created religions. Venue, the cable streaming, the cable service for Fox, Warner Bros. Discovery, and Disney that's sports oriented, and it's in a courtroom right now because Fubo, the distributor, is saying, "Look, this is going to kill us, and it's anti-competitive and all that stuff." And the judge is certainly asking some very penetrating questions, which is an interesting thing. Do bundles have a chance to survive antitrust law? I mean, it's like, this is the thing. People are like, no, we're not going to buy each other. That's off the table. The only people get bought these days are like the makers of Cheetos by the makers of M&Ms today for $36 billion. That's a lot of Cheetos and M&Ms. But we can't really see media companies buying each other, but they want to bundle up. Are we going to be able to do that? Or do we have to figure out new concepts like what you're talking about, Yolanda? I mean, where's this all going to go?
Yeah, I mean, certainly the lower entry to that is if you own your own ecosystem, right? And you can bundle within that. And I would tell you the one miss that I didn't actually see, because I have both NBC and Peacock, but from people that only have Peacock, it felt very disjointed experience. And so the miss is that while they created this great holistic experience of being able to see sort of a very slick program as well as deep dive into the different profiles or events. If you only had one, you weren't getting that full experience. And I don't know what kind of communication was given on the front end as well as during.
So you didn't have enough. They didn't. They did have a primetime thing on Peacock. I saw it, but I mean, it was a different experience, I think. But what you're saying is, obviously, the whole point of NBC can't be everything to everybody, but that's what it can't show everything. So it's this heavily processed, squished down to 3 hours every night thing. Peacock has everything. Why doesn't it have everything on NBC? Is that what you're saying?
No, I just think it was a miss in communicating to the audiences that it was an upsell opportunity to make sure they had both to get the holistic experience.
Right.
I don't think both. I don't think one. I mean, you don't want them to compete with one another, which is, I think, what had happened in the past. They were very complementary, very additive. That's exactly what you want to happen.
Okay, but they maybe didn't market that quite as holistically,
right,
as you would have expected. So, Elizabeth, I'm curious what you think about where bundles and mini bundles and all that go, and all the clients that you see as you look across the industry. What's that look like to you?
Yeah, we do quite a bit of research and understanding the different bundles, especially as they come out from the internet service providers. And so that disaggregation of the past bundles around entertainment really is interesting, because we are now definitely seeing that bundle. And I think in a lot of ways it won't look like cable, and in a lot of ways it will. I mean, there's a very, very strong story if you look historically on why cable television exists and the profitability along with the different licensing deals that came with the way cable was put together. So there's still about 50 million households who are watching regular pay TV, traditional pay TV, and you've got 89% of households who have at least one streaming service. But I think this is just an incredibly experimental phase that we're in right now, with the industry trying to figure out how are we going to make money, and to sustain these services in the base of customers they've built, and then an incredible experimental phase with the consumer side. And as Yolanda was pointing out, these different cohorts of viewers, and trying to really tap into them to get that highest amount of revenue monthly that you can achieve. But we're definitely seeing a decline in, let's say, the number of subscription services that are being stacked together. And it's pretty significant. We're also seeing declines in that average monthly spending. Our latest number is dropping back down to an average of $63 a month. Whereas,
and that's in the middle of constant price hikes too, right? So, correct. I mean, one of the things that Bob Iger said recently at the Disney earnings was, we're gonna make Disney Plus better by raising the price, which I would, huh? It's like, maybe that's not the way you tell consumers we're going to make it better by charging you even more than we already charge.
But I mean, if you look at different industries, for instance, look at the home security space, which we study that area quite a bit in our research. Ring entered the market to compete with traditional security providers at an incredibly low monthly price, where everybody said this is never going to work long term. And of course it wouldn't. However, they got a base of customers. They built up their product, their ecosystem offering with the home security services attached to that. And then they took the market share, and then slowly increasing the price. And we're going to see it in the other side of the house too, with entertainment services. And then you've got the broadband providers, right, who they're the powerhouse, right? They have the tens of millions of subscribers that all of the content providers want to figure out, how do I get a piece of that, right? I only need a couple 100,000 or a couple million to make money. So there's a lot of experimenting going on. I think it'll be interesting to continue watching how it unfolds.
I think that Ring's secret was, didn't they get bought by that terrible, massive online company called Amazon? Isn't that right, Matt Hill? Matt Uno? Isn't that what happened? Didn't that secure?
I'm looking for your, no, I'm just kidding. Yeah, I think the connected home though still provides a lot of things. So when you look at bundles, let's start with the entertainment piece. For me, I think what the opportunity is, you have to have utility and price.
Right.
And so, you know, my role in my middle part of my career at Amazon was I ran the TVOD business within Prime Video. And we sold everything a la carte, right? All the Potter movies one by one. And customers bought them, you know, or they rented them. And then bundling came around. And now all of a sudden you could get all the movies in one click, utility experience, and there was a price break versus buying them one by one. The key was, how do you get customers who have been doing a service one way, buying it a la carte, then getting it into doing a different way where I'm buying it all together. And I think when you think about, you know, the content providers and the app stores and what we're able to do here, I think what Elizabeth is getting on is key. And your comment about Bob Iger and earnings is got to have some utility. I've been told that I need to go to Max, or that I need to go here, or I need to get into this subscription. Now there's something else, right? And so you've got to have a way for customers to seamlessly get into that. And you've got to have that competitive aspect of, you know, what we're pricing. For us, our app store is seeing growth in units. And so, Elizabeth, we might have a little bit different trends, but we're seeing growth in units or overall customers who are engaging with it. From a revenue standpoint, the price changes are definitely, and especially the ad-supported tiers are definitely putting some pressure on what it is. But customers, again, want to find that content. And if they want to watch Major League Baseball and is part of this or now part of this, the key will be that a customer can get into it and start watching as fast as possible. And that engaged experience is going to be how you get that customer engaged, how you have personalization opportunities. And then again, you can bring it back to your partnership with this developer and be like, look what the user base is. Here's the opportunity that we have together. Let's figure out a way to go to market with this that is a little bit different than we think there is a rebundling opportunity, you know, taking cues from the history that we've had as a long-standing media company. And so I think that's really where the opportunity is it has to have that utility in a different way than previous bundles, including broadcast, linear, cable bundles. And it has to have that price break that is going to be attractive to customers versus what they are currently doing a la carte.
Okay. Matt Dos, I'm curious, and Tom, both, given your all's perspective, with a slightly Latin twist, about the opportunity for, I won't even call it a mini bundle because it's tens of millions of viewers in the United States and God knows how many millions, several hundred million in Latin America who speak Spanish alone, for creating bundled. But it's like, what does that bundle even look like? Not just Canela TV, Tom, but like what else goes into that bundle? And there's so many bilingual folks, you know, there are people who speak both Mexican and Cuban, for instance. But you know, what does that bundle look like for the vast populations of people of Hispanic descent who speak both English and Spanish? I mean, how do you super serve them? Is there an opportunity there that the different channels should be jumping on?
Absolutely. So, and that was the opportunity we originally saw, is that it's like 76% of U.S. Hispanics are bicultural, bilingual, and probably born here. So our whole purpose in building Canela was to create an opportunity for them to see what they want to see in both Spanish and English. And so we are 100% ad supported. So a little different on the bundling conversation because we're free, we're 100% free, but we have, you know, Yolanda mentioned those that have their own ecosystem. I would look at our owned and operated Canela TV app as a bundle because within there, we have 90 fast channels. We have 35,000 hours of VOD, mostly Spanish, but also English and relevant content. But we've looked to build all the different verticals that people would want. So music was one of our first ones, super successful for us. As you can imagine, we have all kinds of different music from different regions curated. We have our Canela Sports, Deportes. We have, of course, lots of novellas. We built the largest library of kids content for U.S. Hispanic kids to provide that, you know, cultural opportunity to maintain language as well, too. So we do see more people keeping Spanish more important. and a reacculturation movement, we call it. There's a lot of people coming back to Spanish. I speak more Spanish than my grandfather, for example. So we wanted to be that sort of bundle experience.
Do you really?
I do, yes, yeah.
Do you cuss him out in Spanish or English? Does he cuss you in Spanish or English?
I'm not allowed because he's no longer here.
Oh, okay.
I wouldn't have gotten away with cursing at him either, but he didn't.
I don't care how big you are.
He wouldn't. Wouldn't have that. But no, definitely speak a lot more than him, more than my dad. And we see that pattern, and that was the CEO's passion project, so her kids could maintain Spanish, right? But in addition to our sort of ecosystem that we own, where we consider ourselves a bundle, we also distribute in other places. So we have 75 FAST channels on partners. So if you went into Samsung TV Plus or the Roku channel, you'll find us in the Latino or Spanish section. And within there, it could be sports, it could be music. We're given different opportunities for different types of contents within their sort of ad-free bundle. And then MVPDs have been including us in their streaming options to have Hispanic as well too. So we're in Xfinity boxes, pre-downloaded. So there's a lot of those sort of opportunities to include what we do in broader offerings, but we're ad supported. So, we're not, if they want to save money, we're already doing it.
Yeah. So Tom, are the bundling and repackaging opportunities, both in subscription and AVOD, different or pretty similar beyond US shores?
I would say pretty similar, but it's a bit more bleak, the situation.
Bleak? That's always good to hear.
Yeah. The situation is, Liz just said a number, I think she said $63 per household for entertainment and stacking subscription services. I don't know if pay TV is included in that or not, and we can just include it into the same category. Those numbers are closer to an average of $20, $19 across Latin America.
So a fourth to a third, basically.
Yeah. And actually it's funny that, I don't know if you know, but Netflix is a pretty similar library and catalog all around the world. Same thing for Disney, same thing for Max. Well, that varies a bit more. Amazon is way different, depending on the markets. But for the same catalog or Netflix or Disney Plus, you can access Netflix for a third of the price you pay in the US, and it's the same catalog across Latin America. So you have to take that into account, that you can stack streaming services and still add up to something like $20 a month. But still, people were leaving pay TV because it was too expensive. So I wouldn't say, as Liz was saying, the industry's experimenting, but I would say with the bundling, we're trying to go back to that very beautiful thing we had called pay TV, which I think we kind of missed because it was
never going back, buddy.
Yeah, so we kind of
You're sounding like a certain political candidate looking back fondly, but that's just me. So
I would say we kind of messed it up with, we had something that was beautiful. Okay, so can we go back to that? And 2010, 2011, some research we did, and the result was telling to our clients across Latin America, but then we were just covering LATAM with our data. And the result was to Sony, NBC, A&E, and a few others, guys, the result of this analysis is you need to bundle and do your own D2C. This was way back. And, their answer was that is totally impossible. That is insane. That is the most crazy thing we've ever heard. And now, looking at—
But that was Hulu today, in 2012. That was Hulu.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah, well, not in Latin America. Corporate-wise, it was not even possible for them to pitch this internally. And that was we cannot even talk about this internally. It's just not possible. There are international areas, to talk about that. So, that was not possible back then. But now thinking about this, it's okay, so here we are today. Pay TV is slowly suffering, very painful dead. And now can we bundle? And we're seeing this intentions of doing that here and there, and for us it's that is what definitely what it needs to happen, at least in all the markets that are not the US, where competition and share of wallet of what people are willing to spend on entertainment is not as much as in the US. Now in the US, a lot of competition, different situation, but when looking at global situations, it is not as there's not as much money as in the rest of the world. So bundling, it is the way to go. And, Liz mentioned ISPs. So we do see that trend of ISPs starting to offer their own white labeled OTT streaming services and bundle things here and there. So, well, that is going to be the way to go moving forward in many countries outside of the US. So that is what we're hoping for. And, then again, we're not making anything crazy up. This is just like going back to maybe there's a middleman and maybe there's an agreement between these independent, companies doing a bundle to offer that. And I'm no lawyer, so I'm not sure if that is possible in every market. I'm pretty sure that every market, has its own complications when it comes to antitrust or monopoly, situations.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure about that. That's going to be a lot of fun for some international lawyers. We're in the lightning rounds now, so quick answers to these very lightweight questions. Favorite show you've watched in the past few weeks? Yolanda, it can be one of your own. It's all right.
Well, no. I mean, I always have Bob Ross going on in the background, but I haven't really watched a lot of
Beautiful
television
Trees.
lately. But
Yeah.
I am looking forward to Emily in Paris, which the new season is out tomorrow.
Out tomorrow, Emily in Paris. So that's a natural segue. Matt Dose.
I
Favorite
just
show.
hope the Vikings Valhalla. It saved me from Love Island marathons. So
Oh, well, those are about as diametrically opposed as I can imagine. So historical, I guess not even swords and sandals, but it's sort of like swords and sandals in the north versus Love Island. Horny young couples on an island trying to decide if they want to be together or not. That is about as far away as you can go. That's like inoculating yourself or something. Elizabeth Parks, tell us your favorite show of the last few weeks.
I have been watching My Lady Jane, which is an Amazon Prime, I think, maybe original. I'm not sure. I think. Anyway,
Okay.
I really like it. I do not watch a lot of shows because I work a lot and have 3 kids, but I've really gotten into that show. So good job to Amazon on that one. I'm a hard to capture on that kind of thing.
And you're not getting rich off of her, but Matt Uno, what do you like? And you see a lot, I'm sure, because stuff's going through.
Well, I also have 3 kids, and the joke that I tell people here at Fire TV is I don't control the remote in my household. So when I'm not watching kid shows, I'm watching something on Bravo, which falls in, David, to that reality camp you were talking about. When I do get a chance to travel or time to myself, I like to catch up on series. So I'm currently waiting for series to close that I can catch up on. So The Boys is in my queue and House of Dragon is in my queue. So those are things that I will, when I do get the remote, will like to catch up on.
Yeah, that sequel to The Boys was pretty good. The V or whatever it was pretty sharp, I thought. It was very well done. And Tom, given your global perspective, you see anything out there that's going to be the next Netflix home run?
Well, I'm watching Modern Family and wondering why it took me so long to start that one.
Well, no time like the present for a show that's been off the air for so long that now WhatsApp is doing ads with all the people in the show playing their old characters to promote WhatsApp. I mean, it's perfect. Okay, best bit of news about the industry you've seen lately. Anything, Yolanda?
I don't know. Pass. I'll come back to me.
All right. Well, I would throw out there, yes, they wrote off $15 billion worth of stuff, but streaming, according to DEG, is up 27% in the first half of the year. That feels like a bit of good news. But Matt Dose.
Mine was in line with yours. I mean, I just thought it was great to see that Disney streaming was profitable and for the first time. So
DTC Plus, right?
yeah, exactly. Yeah, and also fed by sports. ESPN was the big hook there. So interesting to see.
Yeah, it was shocking that ESPN Plus was doing anything that anybody's watching it, but I know they're actually trying to do a little bit more with it now as opposed to just being ESPN minus. Elizabeth, any news that you've seen lately that you saw as the best bit of news?
On the streaming music side, I read a couple weeks ago about Spotify maybe having its first profitable year, which I didn't realize until I read that in the Wall Street Journal, because they were started in 2006.
Six. Yeah, I know it was in the aughts, and it's like it's been a while. It's like, okay.
So it's a long game. I mean, it puts it in perspective of like, oh, this is the first year they're going to make money. Wow.
Mm. Yeah, it makes you wonder if that's, I mean, obviously all the streaming services, basically, other than Netflix and Hulu, have been around. I guess Prime came out quite some time ago too. But most of them are 5 years or less, basically, right? So Disney Plus and Apple launched in November of 2019. The world fell apart 5 months later. And other guys kind of rolled out. But this is not a patient Wall Street out there. They're like, we want profits like this quarter or next quarter. Bob Chapek, Bob, the unemployed Bob. He was definitely Bob Dose. And that's no knock on Matt Dose. Let me just be clear, no knock on Matt Dose. So, Matt Uno, best bit of news lately.
I think I still am bullish on the ad-supported tiers within the various services. Prime Video converted to Prime Video advertising, and has a global reach of over 200 million. And I think as you're getting more companies that are considering this multi-tier approach, is good for consumer. And then we're starting to see that the ad playback is getting more and more personalized. It's getting better. It's getting more attractive to customers, where it's not just seeing the same thing. And I think what gets me most excited about, you quoted some numbers at the beginning about the Olympics, is those timely tune-in events where customers do have a hard time finding it. And Tom's point about metadata is spot on. But I think those timely events where there's something to drop into, view it, enjoy it, and it's ad supported in a way that doesn't feel disruptive, I think those are only going to get better. Today is the worst it's going to ever be, and the partnerships that you can create there through the various DSPs, including Amazon DSP, is a huge opportunity.
I think what you meant is today is the worst day from now on that it will ever be, because it had some not so great days before. Now, that being said, Tom, what's the best bit of global perspective that you can bring to us down there? And are you in the BA, or where are you?
In BA, yeah.
Yeah.
It is.
Buenos Aires, for you people that aren't educated about Argentina.
So the best bit of news in the industry is that we launched a streaming service directory, and it's for free for everyone to use. So if you haven't heard about that, I do suggest you go in there. It's free to use for everyone. We had this 1,600 streaming services data set we used internally, and it was like, okay, let's make this available for everyone to use.
That's a global list of all the streaming services on the planet that you guys can track down.
The only list that exists that includes every single streaming service in existence. It's there for everyone to use, with a lot of data in there for you to use, to look at as well. But other than that, I do enjoy every single time I see news on connected TVs and the rise. We have been saying that connected TVs was the device of the future, smart TVs and connected TVs. And now that we see that it's starting to shape up and the entire ecosystem is aligning behind that, for ads in particular, every single time, and these news are coming, every single week we see news about this. And we see that as, okay, we lost a lot of eyeballs when pay TV changed and the ecosystem changed. And streaming without ads was an issue for advertisers and media agencies. And now connected TVs and AVOD, that was most of the discussion revolved around AVOD and FAST. We see that as the light at the end of a very long tunnel of uncertainties. Yeah. So every single time I see news around that.
DG said $5 billion in revenue for AVOD, premium AVOD and FASTs in the first half of this year, which is a pretty nice number out of nothing a few years ago.
Yeah, but when comparing that with what we used to get from,
it's not a 40% margin. No, it's not that. That beautiful thing, that beautiful game, I can't say Pele, Messi plays. I gotta speak Argentinian here. Like Messi plays, it's not that. So anyway, real quickly, favorite Olympic sport, and are you ready for LA 28 to start yet? Because I saw Snoop on Long Beach with Billie Eilish. That's dude, I'm there. Except, I'm already here.
Well, that's soccer for me, and I hope that breakdance goes away.
It is going away, unfortunately for you.
Oh, no.
I actually look, if they can do artistic swimming, they can do breakdancing. I'm just throwing that out there to you. But anyway, Yolanda,
synchronized swimming. Yes, so I'm big gymnastics and swimming, and not to date me, but I was a very young volunteer in 1984 Los Angeles Olympics.
You were the most mature 4-year-old among
So
all
I
the
have
docents.
fond memories of that. I'm so excited that it's coming back. I can't believe I'm seeing the full circle.
See, it would only be bad if you said you were a very young volunteer at the 1932 LA Olympics. That
True,
would say,
true.
oh, that's getting up there.
But I did volunteer for the rhythmic gymnastics, so I've always been a fan of it.
Okay. The rhythmic breakdancing, which will not actually inexplicably be at the LA Olympics, so a bunch of new sports will be. Matt Dos, favorite sport? Any interest in coming to being in LA for this thing?
Favorite Olympic sport, diving, and I'm a longtime Angelino at this point, so I'm excited we're getting it, and it's a very positive for our city. So I'm ready for those trains they're building and all these beautiful things and fixing our airport, but also excited for the game. So yes.
Yeah. I have to say that I'm really glad that they're not building permanent stadiums, though they are putting a new floor in the Coliseum, and they're turning SoFi Stadium into a swim stadium, which is crazy.
Wow.
But yeah, it's a $5 billion stadium. You got to do something with it, right? But they're doing some interesting stuff. But the permanent things they're doing are actually useful, like housing and transportation. So, yay! That seems like a win. No white elephants. Elizabeth, favorite sport? Are you ready for LA? 28?
The women's gymnastics and then the men's synchronized diving. I'd never really seen that before, and I was very impressed.
Those Chinese guys are pretty impressive, I gotta say.
It's amazing. My brother lives in LA, so we'll see if I can sneak in
like he'll give you a spare bedroom or something.
Yeah, we'll see if he's not leaving the city for that couple of weeks.
Well, all the better if he is, unless he's renting it out for $12,000 or something, which is actually quite likely. Matt Uno, what's your sport?
I'm disappointed breakdancing isn't continuing because I feel like I could have participated in that to an extent, even though not on the podium. But I love watching any sport that isn't mainstream. So I can catch soccer multiple times. I can catch other sports, but I like watching shot put, javelin, synchronized things that you don't normally see. I find those very entertaining, and it was good to see new sports like kayaking come into play. So they were all very entertaining. But
I'm looking forward to. I gotta say, I'm looking forward to the Fire TV Fast channel for team handball and breakdancing. So team breakdancing with your hands and a ball. And finally, Tom. You're going to leave BA to come to the Olympics in 4 years? Hang on the beach with Snoop?
I wanted to go to Copa America and, attend some of the games in Miami, but I failed at that. So let's see about LA.
See if you can get extracted.
And let's see if they add pickleball too.
Oh, they could. I think it's just video gaming. It's one of the big ones. But we got World Cup in 2 years. That's gonna be your real focus.
That's where I want to be.
North American World Cup in 2 years will be our practice run. So anyway, with that, we will wrap this up, and I will turn it back over to the estimable Eric to take us home. Thank you, everybody, for a fantastic panel. Much appreciated.
Thanks so much. What about cornhole? I actually saw that on.
There's no Olympic cornhole. There will never be Olympic cornhole because that's the thing you play before you go watch the sport. Okay, if you make it an Olympic sport,
I'm just throwing
nobody does synchronized diving before they go watch football. You go watch synchronized diving.
It might not be synchronized, and it could be like diving into a parking lot as you're falling over, but that's a completely different sport.
Different sport.
Not one that you would be proud of being champion of, probably.
No.
As well.
No.
Well, it's good to know that that OTTX is in good company with Spotify. Also working really hard to not be profitable, but that's our job because we're a not-for-profit.
At least you're consistent, Eric. That's
Thanks so much, everybody. David, Tom, both Matt Uno and Matt Dos, Yolanda, Elizabeth, on that for that deep dive into the enticing and always murky waters of streaming. We're going to be back with our next edition of The Buzz on September 11th. You can register to attend this and future episodes from our website at ottx.org. You can find all our podcasts on Spotify as well. I think in the chat, the link is in there somewhere. Jose dropped it in there. I hope you'll join us and invite your friends and colleagues as well to get in on the buzz. I want to let everybody know also that registration is now open for OTTX's flagship conference, the Summit. It's going to be taking place in LA September 25th and 26th. Make sure that you go out to the website and check in on that. You'll want to be there. Includes 2 days of conference programming, workshops, breakouts, exhibitor booths, one-on-one business meetings, the Heroes of OTTX Awards, of course, industry cocktail parties, and so much more. You're going to want to be there. So get out to OTTX Toot Suite and get yourself registered. That concludes today's episode of The Buzz. We're looking forward to seeing you at our upcoming events. Thanks, everybody, and happy streaming.
Take care, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks
Bye.
very much for having us.